All right, so hopefully everybody had enough time to work that out on your own. You unpaused and you didn't cheat and just watched me go through it the first time. So I'm going to use the guess method to solve this. So if you're in the classroom watching this and you look to the front of the room, there's a big poster that has guess written on it. GUESS. And this is what you're going to use to solve every math word problem that exists. So the G is given. What did they give us in the problem? The U is unknown. That's another way to say, what are we looking for? What did the problem ask us to find? The E is for equation. So what equation do we know that includes all of our unknowns and all of our givens? And then we have the first S for substitute. That's where we take what we know and what we don't know, and we plug them in to our equation. So substitute. And then last but not least, we have the last S, which is solve. So this is where once everything's plugged in, you just use your algebra and solve for it. So if we go to the next page, I will solve this. So we have Judy, and she is G for given, 100 meters. And 100 meters is our distance. So the distance she traveled is 100 meters. They also gave us in the problem 20 seconds. 20 seconds is the time. Now, there's one more thing they gave us that's not quite as obvious. So for time's sake, it is the displacement. Because the displacement is different in this instance than the distance. So remember, displacement cares about where you ended in relation to where you began. So in this instance, if we go back, you can look, she ran all the way around the track. She ended exactly where she started. Because of that, her displacement is 0 meters. Next, unknown, what are we looking for? We are looking for her speed and we are looking for her velocity. So we have that. We have our equation is next. If we go back to the first slide, we see the equation for velocity is displacement divided by time. The equation for speed is distance divided by time. So I'm going to write those out as letters so you can see what they look like. So you have velocity is equal to displacement divided by time. You see a line like that, that's just another way to say divided by. Fractions are the same thing as dividing. And you have speed, which I'm going to use as an S, is equal to distance divided by time. Now, for all of those who are moving on or who have taken calculus, you'll know that you use S and D for other things, like obviously displacement's D, but for simplicity's sake in this video, I'm just going to leave it as that. So we have two equations. We have our velocity equation, and we have our speed equation. So the next step is to substitute. So we are looking for, say, the velocity. So velocity is displacement over time. The displacement is 0. The time is 20 seconds. We're looking for speed. Speed equals distance of 100 meters. Put my second back. Always remember your units. Even Mr. T forgets sometimes. Over 20 seconds. So you can see you're going to get two completely different answers for this, and this is the importance of understanding the difference between scalars, which don't care about direction, and vectors, which do. So now we can just solve the last S. So on this particular one, 0 divided by 20, her average velocity is 0 meters per second. M divided by S. Her speed, 100 divided by 20, is 5 meters per second. So as you can see, completely different answers for speed and velocity. Hopefully this helps you out a little bit. Before we go, we will do one more, which will be a little bit more algebra, but a little bit less arithmetic. So say this time we have Bob. Bob is traveling east at 10 meters per second. And he travels a total distance of 40 meters. So he goes 40 meters east, 10 meters per second. How long would that take? How long would that take him? So you can go ahead, pause the video, see if you can figure that one out, and then come right back. Okay, so hopefully you paused the video for that and you didn't just let me talk through, you actually worked that out yourself. So again, we have our guess problem. What are we given? We are given 10 meters per second east. And we are given 40 meters. So 40 meters would be, say, displacement in this instance, because we are dealing with a direction. And 10 meters per second east would be velocity. Because again, this problem is dealing with direction. It cares about direction. We are dealing with vectors. So the unknown we're looking for, how long would it take him? That's time. Whenever you're asking how long, it's time. We're looking for time in this instance. So our equation is, again, velocity is equal to displacement divided by time, or over time. The issue here is, as you can see, this equation doesn't solve for time. Well, it does, technically, but it's a little confusing to get it out of this way, so we're going to want to rearrange this equation. To do it with algebra, you're going to use your Algebra 1 skills to figure out how to isolate this variable, this letter. We got V over by himself over here, but we want T by itself. So how we do that, we rearrange the equation using the rules of algebra. So the important thing to remember in algebra is you can do whatever you want to an algebra equation, as long as whatever you do to one side, you can do to the other. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to multiply this side of the equation by t, which means I have to multiply this side of the equation by t. Now, why did I do that? Because when you multiply something by the same thing as you divide by, they cancel out. So we're running out of room here. rewrite that for you all. V equals d over t, multiply by t, multiply by t, and you end up with t times v equals d. Still not super helpful because we still want this t by itself. So what do we got to do? We got to get rid of this v. So what can you do? Divide that side by v, so both v's cancel, and then you divide that side by v, you end up with time is equal to displacement divided by velocity. So now we have our equation. We have finally finished the section of guess of E. That is our equation. So the next is substitute. So if we go back, so we have t equals d over v. Bob's going 10 meters per second east, 40 meters. So the displacement is 40 meters divided by 10 meters per second. And then we solve. So what's 40 divided by 10? Give it a minute. What do you guys say? 4 seconds. Again, I apologize. I'm writing with my mouse this week. 4 seconds. And that makes sense if you think about it. If you go back to the original equation, distance is, so we have 10 meters per second, distance of 40, 40 divided by 10, or excuse me, 40 divided by 4 is 10. So hopefully that helps you out a little bit on the algebra. If you have any questions, you can come see me. Algebra is pretty important in physics. You're going to be using it all the time. It's going to be good practice. This level of algebra, this isn't anything as complicated as calculus. This isn't even anything as complicated as pre-calc. It's good to practice this level of algebra because it's something you are going to use throughout your life. So thanks for watching the video. Hopefully this helps you all out. It's a little more easy to go through than just me at the board. Have a good one, everybody.